Hey everybody, welcome to this video. So today what I want to go through is the exact strategies we use for one of my mastermind clients, Terri, who just hit her first $100,000 month with her e-commerce business. So firstly, I was so incredibly excited whenever a client hits a milestone that they've been striving for so long. I'm just so proud of the work that they do and the commitment that they have to their businesses. But I want to go through and give you some idea of how we actually did this with Terri. So let me just paint some pictures with some context. So first and foremost, Terri is in a seasonal business where she sells basically costumes online. So things for like Halloween, Oktoberfest, Christmas, Easter, those sorts of things. So in terms of the way her business operates, she also has a physical store. It is very seasonal with how things go in terms of her sales volumes. Now, this isn't totally different from e-commerce businesses generally. I mean, there's certainly bigger periods of time where e-commerce businesses are busier and make more sales just based on almost market momentum, so to speak. Typically, that's towards the end of the year when we talk about Black Fridays and Christmas and all that sort of thing. And then there's also typically downtimes where their customers are, off on holidays. Like I use it January as an example there. It's just a natural seasonality of being in business and consumer behavior. So Terri certainly fits into this criteria. So we've been working together for the last 12 months in my mastermind program where I only work with 5 people who want to scale to, beyond that sort of 30 to 50K to bigger milestones like the 100. So it took us almost a full 12 months to get there, but it was very strategic and methodical with how it actually worked. We had to really work with her resources, her time capabilities. She's got a family, she's running a physical retail store as well. So the online component had to squeeze in there. So first and foremost, it was about time allocation, right? Prioritizing exactly what she had to do with the time that she had available. So that's the first and foremost is we can't think or plan, let's call it, to overextend ourselves because it's never going to be sustainable or durable and we'll end up basically burning ourselves out. All right. So we had to firstly understand what Terri was capable of and then basically put a really clear, reasonable plan, like, obviously striving and looking to break through comfort levels and things like that within her capabilities. But we wanted to be realistic as well so that we could actually tick those milestones and continue the momentum forward, right? So that was the first thing that we actually did was we reverse engineered the year. We want to get to here in those next 12 months. And this is what it's actually going to look like in the months leading up to that. The second thing we did was an ads plan, okay? It's very uncommon or very difficult, I would say, in my experience, and I've had 13 years of experience in e-commerce, worked with hundreds of brands, to scale successfully without ads, okay? So ads form leverage. So if you think about organic efforts, you're posting on Instagram, you're doing influencer outreach, you're doing all these sorts of things, that's all manual efforts. Right? It's very low leverage because you're doing the thing and then you get the output and then you get the result. It's great. It's obviously necessary, especially early on, but to scale successfully, you need leverage. Okay, meaning you put one thing in, you get a result of 10 out or 100 out or 1,000 out. Okay, so it's really easy to think in the context of ads there, where you put $1 in and you get $5 out, $10 out, right? That's easy to quantify and see the logic in that. Less so when it comes to manual efforts because it's just time basically and effort, okay? But it's certainly leverage, right? Because if we do one Instagram post, we reach one person, 5 people. We do one ad, we reach thousands of people on our dollar. Okay, so that's what high leverage is. So when it came to ads, that was the fundamental strategy we use with her, Google ads and meta ads. Okay, we call this basically circumventing our audience. Okay, and also really important to consider how one impacts on the other. So typically Google ads will attract basically warm audience with high intent because people are going to Google, they're searching, solutions such as costumes. Okay, it could be other brands, of course. Whereas Meta will attract colder audiences first and foremost, right? It puts the idea in people's minds and says, hey, do you need a costume for Halloween or Oktoberfest? Okay, but also has the ability to retarget across its own networks, right? Meta meaning Instagram, Facebook, our audience networks, and there's dozens of other platforms that Meta owns that it actually advertises on. Okay, so those two strategies were extremely important. Now, one challenge that we really had, especially during the seasonality, is keeping the cost per acquisition, right? The cost to actually acquire a customer under control. Okay, so during the, let's call it traditional lower months, right? Throughout throughout the year. And as I say, they kind of ebbed and flowed maybe in a quarterly fashion. So, Terry, based on her business, had like high periods for say 1 month, say every quarter, right? So during those other couple of months where it was lower, we really had to manage and monitor the cost per acquisitions. We didn't want to just throw money into ads, just hoping that it was going to work the same as it did last time for a proper campaign, okay? We had to really say, okay, your cost per acquisition that we need it to be under is about that $17, $18, maximum $20 cost per acquisition. And we look at it on what's called a blended perspective, which means across both platforms, what is our total ad spend, Meta and Google in this case, divided by our total sales coming through Shopify. That's our blended cost per acquisition. And with our eye on that prize, we could make adjustments to our ad spend accordingly, right? So what that basically means is, as it goes above the $20, in this case as a bit of a baseline, we want to pull things back down in terms of spend. We really had to manage that accordingly, okay? Because if you're spending $300, $400, $500, $1,000 a day on ads, we really have to be quite malleable. But as we increase budget when things were looking good, again, we need to watch what that CPA was doing. And if they're under 20, if it's healthy over a 3-day window, 5-day window, then we can increase again. Watch what happens with the CPA, then increase again. And so that's how we were able to get to this stage of $100,000 per month from the previous month being about 50, right? So a massive increase, again, riding on the coattails of momentum and seasonality and events, right? So ads were really important to manage properly. So we were able to do that together. Terri doesn't use agencies. We have empowered her to have confidence in her ads and her platforms and to be able to manage them accordingly in real time. So huge skill building with managing ads. And as I say, over a 12-month period, being able to see the personality of the account, of the market, and what we should be doing next based on what the data is telling us. Okay, so second part was ads, which Terri had a massive opportunity with, was actually email marketing. This sounds generic, it sounds boring, but I can promise you it made the world of difference in contributing to that additional revenue. I would say, often we talk about and see evidence of email marketing contributing to about 30% of sales. Okay, so 30% of her 100K in that particular month, this month, has been from email marketing, campaigns and flows. It's all well and good to say, oh yeah, I've got that welcome flow on where I just send one email, it's a discount. Great. That's not going to cut the mustard. I have personally worked with email marketers that, for our brands, that charge $5,000 a month, and their sole job is to extract revenue from email marketing. So I know, and I teach with my community, my program, how we should actually email market properly. Here are the templates, plug and play. Here are the campaigns, plug and play. So Terri adopted exactly that and was able to extract enormous amounts of revenue from email marketing that she was otherwise underutilizing. Okay, so now I can promise you this. If you think you're doing email marketing, I can promise you you're underutilizing it by at least 50%. Okay, that's a big realization that people come in to our program with, and we obviously help them get that up to scratch. Okay, so email marketing was huge, right? We went really hard and heavy on the flows, went really hard and heavy on the campaigns, and I still think we could have done more. Okay, we always think we could do more, but that's another lesson moving into the next season of her business. But that's really the long and the short of it. One was the time allocation, the dedication, the structure, the discipline to not go outside of what's going to drive revenue, not get distracted by what's going to not drive revenue, and focus on the core things that are. The second part was ads, optimizing that, working with the spend, working with the blended CPAs, and managing it accordingly in terms of increasing and decreasing spend accordingly. And the third thing was email marketing, leveraging that to its highest degree possible to ensure that we can extract as much revenue as possible from our current audience and the audience that we're continuing to build. We call it planting seeds, database building, and harvesting, extracting revenue. Okay, so that's exactly how Terri did it. It sounds simple, and it actually is really simple. The brands that I see on that 7-figure, 8-figure level per year have the simplest plans and strategies. They're just extremely good at focusing on those things that they know are going to make the difference, and extremely disciplined in problem solving the actual problem in front of them, not looking for those next shiny objects. Okay, so that's exactly what Terri did. I hope that's valuable for you, no matter what stage you're at with your business, but those things can be pulled through at any stage of your business, whether you're at 1K a month, 10K, 20K, 100K. Okay, so I hope that was valuable for you. If it was, I would love a like and subscribe. Follow along. I'm creating videos like this all the time. If you want to know more about how we help e-commerce brands, you can click the link below, have a bit of a look, have a chat if it sounds like it's right for you and you're interested in learning more. But other than that, I appreciate you watching to the end of this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.